Hello and welcome to another Uniko video with me, Bev, the owner and designer of all things Uniko. Happy New Year's Eve. I'm super excited about 2025. It's going to be a fabulous year. 2024 has been good, but as always, it could have been a little bit better. So I'm excited to start the new year. Now, hopefully you've come on by from the Uniko blogspot blog, or you have subscribed to the Uniko YouTube channel, and you might have seen that today is the first of the product introductions for our January 2025 release. We've got a whole host of products being introduced over the next few days, but I'm super excited to be here today and share with you a fabulous new layering stencil. Now, those of you who came to Uniko's autumn stamping retreat will have seen and used this stencil, and it was also the free gift of part of the stamping retreat. So that is always one bonus to come. Sometimes it's a product from the release that has happened, and sometimes it's one that's coming shortly and they got one from this release. So these are the three samples that I have on the blogs today using this stencil. So this stencil is called Picked Posies. Now, some of you also might recognise this flower and the sort of design style of this stencil. So back in autumn 2023, I released a exclusive collection with CraftStash here in the UK called Picked Posies. It had various other products that went with the collection, but this was the main floral, and as you can see, if I just turn this here, you can see that the flower is the same. Unfortunately, my contract was terminated with CraftStash, so I've only ever got this one collection with them. It was exclusive, and this main clear stamp set and dies are currently now out of stock, so you are very lucky if you own this. There are a few bits of the collection still available on their website, and there's a link to it from the Uniko blogspot blog. Anyway, I really loved this collection, and it's a bit sad that it's now ended, but so I wanted to bring it to you here at Uniko, but I didn't just want to repeat what I'd already done, so I was looking at ways in which I could bring you this collection but in a different format, and that's when I came up with this layering stencil. So it's got 4 layers. You've got the leaves, you've got the flowers, you've got the centre of the flowers and some detail flowers, and then you've got the details that go on the flower to bring it to life a little bit more. So these are the cards, so I'll talk through the cards now. As you can see, I'm very excited today, and I get all of a fluster when I'm excited. So I'd seen this card layout idea, I think it was through Gina Kay, who I follow on Instagram, and I really liked this sort of cut panel angle design. Obviously it's a card that can't stand up, but I just thought it was a super fun design, and I've used all 4 layers on this card and added the birthday wishes sentiment. That's a combination from our everyday sentiments, and I've added a few little enamel dots. Super fun. This one, as you can see, uses lovely shades of peach. I believe I've used grapefruit and sorbet from Concord and Ninth, and I think I've used avocado with a bit of evergreen for the leaves. This sentiment's from Floral Vines and it matches the everyday sentiments. And then this last card here, and I also have this little cutout here as well. It shows how you can use just sections of the stencil to create a focal point. So here I've used this bottom corner and I've just masked it off to just use this one flower here, and then this one is just this one in the bottom corner that I've masked and masked off and inked up, and then I've just fussy cut it out. I'll just mention though that this original collection, if you do have it and you have the dies that go with it, the two floral dies that cut out the flower heads, these two, these will work with the stencil as well. So little bonus extra there if you do have the dies from the original collection, they do match. And that is the only bit really that is the same size and that sort of matches this collection. Obviously they can be used both together. But yeah, so I thought what I'd do today is just show you how this stencil works and just how beautifully it comes together. So I went ahead and trimmed some card, my usual size, 10.5 by 14 centimeters. I use a lot of American cardstock, but I do work in centimeters. So I know that theirs is 21 centimeters wide and it's 28 high. I think it's slightly bigger than 21, sorry. So that's why I tend to use this size all the time, if you wondered. So I just marked my center there on either side. It's a habit. And I've just used some temporary adhesive just to secure it to my workspace. Now I tend to start with the leaf layer of this stencil, and I'm working on I could have worked on a square card, but I tend to use this size card a lot rather than squares, even though my stencils are square shaped. So I'm just lining it up. And I'm using some Scotch tape just to keep my stencil in place. I'm sticking it to my hand because it's a little bit stickier, this tape, and it rips my base paper if it's too sticky. So I'm just going to pop a little mark here and it'll just show me where I've put this corner of the stencil, because that'll make it super easy just for lining up all the layers without having to think or fiddle about too much, because they literally just layer on top of each other. So I went ahead and chose my usual colours. I've got Parsley from Concord and 9th for the green. And I'm just going to gently ink over. As I say, you can have a lot of fun with these stencils, using different colour combinations. You can add more shading if you wanted to than what I'm doing here. You could do it in more than just one shade of green. But for ease of today, just showing you how this comes together, I'll just use the one colour on the leaves. Nothing too taxing about this stencil, but as I say, you can if you do happen to own the stamp set and the dies that came out with CraftStash, there are more mix and match opportunities with it. You could use the stamped flowers with this. and vice versa. You could use the flower heads from the stencil with the leaves. The leaves are similar shape and design, but obviously the stamps have a little bit more open areas and solid areas, so they are slightly different. So as much as I wanted to sort of like keep a continuation of the theme, I wanted there to be some differences. The same but different, to give you more options. So it didn't really make sense just to bring the stamps out here when they've already been out with CraftStash. So this is my way of continuing one of the designs I really enjoyed designing this collection, and these flowers, the picked posies. So there's the leaves, and now I'm going to just apply the flower heads. This is the order that I tend to do it in. So I'm just lining up this bottom corner where I marked, and as you can see, the flowers just sit just nicely here. So, and then I've chosen sunflower today, which is a little bit more of a muted duller yellow, I'd say, to buttercup, what I normally choose. I don't know what, sometimes colours just speak to you, don't they? I have no rhyme or reason as to why I chose sunflower today. I think I was trying to choose colours that I don't always use. I have my favourites, obviously, so sometimes it is nice to choose something different. So here I'm just going over lightly, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go a little bit harder from the centre as I sort of ink round in a circle, just to give it a little bit sort of more depth in the centre of the flower. And you don't actually have to apply a lot of ink for it to actually be seen, because when you lift over, if you want a nice subtle effect, you don't really need a lot of ink to actually see it, especially if you're doing it on white card. And often if I want a really soft shade, I don't actually re-ink some of my brushes. As you can see, I try and stick to the same colour as what my brush is, or for example, this one's obviously not a coloured one, but I try to stick to pinks and sort of purpley pinks. I do wash my brushes occasionally when I feel they're getting a little bit too dirty and saturated, but to be honest, I try and just stick to the same colours. So if I want a really sort of light shade, I'll choose a brush. Like if I wanted a really light shade of purple, I'd choose this brush and just get off whatever ink's already on there before re-inking, if that makes sense. So has anyone got any plans for the new year? I tend to sit and watch the music and the fireworks with my boys. They've stayed up for the last few years ringing in the new year with us. They quite enjoy it now. So that's what I'll be doing this evening. But I'm sure I'll be sneaking in some crafting as well. So then the next layer, I'm going to go with this one because I'm going to go with the centre of the flowers. But for this card, I'm not going to do these detail flowers. So if I bring in these other cards where I've used all 4 layers together, I've added these little flowers in a different colour to make like it's like a seamless pattern. But for this card, I'm going to do it without. I just want the 3 main flowers as my focal point. And the way I'm going to do this without getting ink on these 3 flowers is just by using a smaller brush. And I'm going to use this Spice Cider ink colour. So I'm just using a smaller brush just to go over the centre of the flowers. So these are from Waffle Flower, these detail brushes, and they come in a couple of sizes. So you've got this one that is shade of 1, and then there are some smaller ones, if I can find one. They do seem to sink to the bottom of my holder, and there's shade of 0. I think there's another size as well, but they're the 2 that I got, and I got these from Seven Hills Crafts, and they're super good for all these sort of like smaller detail areas in the stencil. In stencils, I should say. So I'm just going to do that today. And then we'll move to the next layer, which is the last layer. So you could leave it like that if you wanted to. There's no rules to say that you have to do all 4 layers, but this one just adds a little bit sort of depth and detail to the flowers and the leaves, makes them a little bit more realistic. As you can see, my design style is quite modern. I have a very sort of modern feel to my designs and my collections. So I'm using evergreen here, and I've got another smaller brush, and I'm just going to go in lightly to add this detail to the leaf. I don't want it super dark, but I do want it sort of noticeable. Now, for some reason, I don't know if you can hear, but Alexa has started playing some music. So either someone, my husband at work, has done something and it's come through one of the Alexas, or she's heard me talking and has just randomly started playing music. I don't know. Who knows? Hopefully it's not too loud for you. I think it's coming from one of the other rooms, because I'm the only one in at the moment. So I'm just adding, and you can just peel up your stencil and you can see there that it's added the detail but not too dark. So I'm using this finer brush here, just so I can get the areas of the stencil that I want to. Obviously when I design these stencils, yes, it's a little bit awkward having to mask off, or you've got different colours on one layer. But the reason I've done it like this is I could have done another 5th layer, but then it would have added more cost to the product. And I try to keep my products as cheap as possible, you know, to make them sort of more affordable for everybody. So hence that is why all the detail is on this one layer. So this stencil will be available on the website on Sunday the 5th of January 2025. It's when all the products go live. I've got some more introductions and videos to share with you in the coming days. So I hope you will keep a check on the YouTube channel. If you subscribe, you'll be notified of when a new video goes live. So I've just cleaned this off slightly because I'm going to go back in with the Spice Cider. I've just used cayenne for the center of the flowers, but I want this detail to be a little bit lighter. It'll probably be that I draw in some of this ink that's off the middle of the center of the flower, and add in a bit of the spice cider just to mute it a little bit. I don't want it too dark. We'll see how it comes out. So this part of the stencil is quite delicate. The detail areas are quite delicate, so just be careful that you don't bend them too much. So I tend to go in with the grain of the stencil design, and yeah, just when you're cleaning them, just be mindful that you don't bend the bits of the stencil too much. You'll just lose a little bit of the detail, but that's the only drawback of being a fine design, and these shaded sort of sections. So I'm just going in with that there, and we'll have a look and see how it's turned out. A little bit darker than I originally intended, but what I might do just to fix that is go back to the flower section, and I'm just going to line it up again, which should be fairly easy because I've got this mark on my pad here that I used to line up in the first place. So I'm just going to reapply this, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go with the spice cider, which was the sort of the colour that I used for the centre of the flowers. Now I'm just going to go lightly sort of over the middle again, like I did, to get a darker shade of the yellow. So I'm just going over a little bit more just to add, hopefully blend it in just a little bit. I believe she's playing Christmas songs. There we go. So that's muted it a little bit. Another option you could do as well to make it a little less powerful would be to use this layer and maybe go in with a bit of white pigment or something like that as such. But at the end of the day, I'm happy with that, and you can see the detail of the flowers, and you've seen how the stencil layers together. And I'll just bring in the other samples for you to see. So that was the one where I just used one section. That was the one with the fancy fold, and this one was just like a panel that I've trimmed down. So I did the full lot and just trimmed it down to have more of a border around the edge of my card, and then obviously this one as well. So you'll be seeing more samples of this if you head on over to the Uniko Blogspot blog. I will link in the description. The brand ambassadors have done some fabulous inspiration, and we have a daily blog hop, and you can comment along the hops and just see all the wonderful inspiration for them. But I'm sure you'll be seeing this stencil a lot more in 2025 around social media. Thank you for joining me today, and see you again tomorrow, hopefully. Bye for now.